welcome to Farm Here Daily, a field forward podcast. I'm your host, David Geiger. Today on Farm Here Daily, giving thanks and food during the holidays, a conversation with Jill Myers of Landus about raising money for the Iowa Food Bank and getting your community involved. Please be sure to like and follow the podcast as well as our social media at Field Forward Pod. We would love to have you join our community, keeping folks informed about what is affecting our farmers. This is Farm Here Daily. And joining us on Farm Here Daily, we're going to be giving a bit of thanks during this time of Thanksgiving. And to do so right now, we have with us Jill Myers, the office manager with Landus, and someone who is helping spearhead the initiative they have over there that helps get money to the Iowa Food Bank. Jill, thank you so much for joining us on Farm Here Daily. And let's just cover that topic in general. What are you guys doing to raise money for the Iowa Food Bank, or raise donations for the Iowa Food Bank, may be a better way to put it, and how are you getting involved with the community here?
Thank you, David. I'm so happy to be here today. Yes, we decided that this year, due to a variety of different factors, the rising cost of food, and some of the more political things, people's SNAP benefits were affected a little bit. We wanted to focus here at Landis headquarters on raising some money for the Iowa Food Bank. We chose the Iowa Food Bank because it serves over 55 different food banks in Iowa. So we felt like we could help our neighbors right here next to us downtown, and then also around the state, where a lot of our locations are as well. So it just seemed like the perfect solution to, our wanting to give to our communities.
I know a general mission of farmers and Iowa farmers is to help feed the world. And we often forget about feeding folks locally, I guess, because it's not quite as seen, or it's not quite as visible, because it's the U.S. Who goes hungry here in the U.S.? How do you feel about engaging with folks and helping make sure folks here locally are kept fed?
I feel extremely passionate about that. Actually, 1 in 8 Iowans is hungry. I grew up in rural Iowa myself, in the little town of White Oak, which is just sandwiched between Elkhart and Cambridge. And my family had food insecurity as well. I remember my mom walking around the grocery store, our local Hy-Vee. There weren't a lot of options back then, besides Hy-Vee, with her calculator. And when she reached that magic number on her calculator, it didn't matter if we had enough food for the 5 of us. We had to leave. And it also, like so many communities now, it took us a while to get to Hy-Vee. So I remember on our way to Hy-Vee once, it was winter, of course, and we broke down on the side of the road. So yeah, we got some government cheese, and yeah, so I just remember us struggling, my parents struggling, and frankly being hungry, because I was the oldest, and you had to make sure that you didn't take too much because you didn't want the rest of your family to suffer.
I think that's really impactful, that personal story that you bring to the table here, because we do see, I think the stat from DMARC this past year was 1 in 4 Iowans in the Des Moines area visited a food pantry over the last year. And you said 1 in 8 are on some sort of benefit. So there's even more to I guess, idea of needing food is I guess shunned or looked down on. Folks don't want to be known to be getting these benefits, and so they'll go to a food pantry instead. But all of this is normally things that you'll have in transitionary periods. You lost a job, or there's a bit of uncertainty going on. So it's not really something to be ashamed of to get a little help from your community.
Right, exactly. In our case, we didn't tell my school because we lived in a tiny town and everybody knew who you were. We didn't, my parents didn't want it to get out, that we were struggling. My parents had, jobs in their local communities. One was hauled propane, the other worked at a little local business, so they were hardworking Iowans. And, the opportunities sometimes in locations like that aren't um, as rich as maybe in the city. Not that city people don't struggle, because obviously they do.
What do you think is a way to not only engage with the community, but engage with everyone to reduce the stigma of needing to rely on your fellow neighbors and Americans to help each other out during times of hardship, especially during a time right now where we give thanks to what we have and what we've been given and where we've been placed.
Yes. It is definitely a time to give thanks, and it's so important to have all those times where you can come together with your family and your friends. Um, I mean, I'm a pretty open person. I always think talking about what you've gone through, putting a face to the situation, um, so you can say, well, yeah, we were kind of hungry at home, and just to open up and be vulnerable, because it is just regular full-time people, that are raising their kids, that are sometimes having these problems. They just, gosh, they have that car problem, a little bit of car trouble, or gas goes up unexpectedly, or some unexpected house repair, or even health care. And so we just, the more that we can think about that, we might not know that people right next door to us are struggling, but we can give to our food bank, and they can go in, and be somewhat anonymous, especially if they go to some of the bigger ones.
When you are giving to a food bank, it doesn't take too much.
Right.
And you can, instead of volunteering your time, if that either makes you uncomfortable or you don't view yourself as someone who does social things very well, you can donate money and or food as well. What are some of the best ways to do that?
Well, and even you can, they often need toilet paper. These are basic things that they need.
There's
Those.
shampoo at the food pantry that I've visited before for helping out.
Exactly. So when I buy my big old package, of toilet paper, it's not that expensive. I'll just buy another one, and I just throw it into my local churches. My local church has a cart at all times for the food bank. So it's just that, oh, I think I'll buy two packages of a macaroni, or yeah, maybe, we have the best thing here at headquarters, that we have a Starbucks in our building. But, I could say, hey, I'm not going to buy Starbucks at all, this week, and give that to the food bank. And that, I am not sacrificing much, so you can just do, or you can, give 10% of your paycheck this month. I'm looking at different things like that too. So you can go as big or as small as you want to, but you will still have a positive effect on an Iowan.
Something I think about as well is the idea of independence. In the US, we have this very pull yourself up by bootstraps mentality, and that can be applicable in many situations, but also at the same time, there are pretty massive barriers to overcome if you don't have access to have food to be at your top performance, if you don't have access to staying clean. Like that's why they have shampoo. Showing up to a job interview stinky and dirty, it's not going to be a good look. It's going to be difficult to get a job like that. There's just barrier after barrier that takes place when you are in a position of massive financial insecurity. And when you approach that, what do you say to folks that think there's a bit more independence needed in that way?
Um, I would say that all boats rise together. And so if we can help each other out, we will all rise together. And I had that, even though we had some food insecurity, I definitely had that in my community, where I got to go to college because my local church had these grants and they had, I was able to pay them back with low interest loans. So and my grandparents, would always send us home with, we'd had all the zucchini in the world. you know, and all the tomatoes in the world, so we just all boats rise together, and if we can help each other, then we will be helping our communities, and making just more opportunities for everyone. And that's what we're really focused here at Landis, is making sure that all our communities are thriving so we can provide food to Iowans, Americans, and the world.
I think another point that I think of immediately as well, and I don't want to appeal to emotion too much, but it is a fact that a large portion of folks who are on either SNAP or going to food pantries are children, are
Yes.
people who do not have agency or the ability to make money for themselves or feed themselves. And regardless of whatever responsibilities you want to place on the parents, that is the reality. And it's important to make sure that at least the kids get fed in some capacity.
Definitely, yes. I know that this might be trite, but they are our future. I mean, I want these kids to grow up well and healthy, feeling secure. They are the people that are going to be feeding us and caring for us as well. So, yeah, you can take all the politics, all the bootstraps out of it you want to, because in the end, it is the children that are suffering. And and it's not just children. Like, we can also think about the elderly. With they might be struggling to be paying for their medications and their food. And so we need to, just look out after each other, which we've always done in Iowa, what we've always done in Landis, what we've always done in our tiny communities. We just maybe just need to relook at some of our, I don't know, our stereotypes, maybe, and it's not the children's fault, and usually not the seniors either.
Jill, you are a office manager at Landis as you help promote and help raise money for the Iowa Food Bank. How are you involving the folks you work with in this opportunity, and how do you recommend other people who may be participants or help lead initiatives within their own offices look at this?
Yeah, well, right now, if you would come into our office or even come into our building, you will see lots of flyers with the links to where we're giving. And then also, I have a bunch of boxes that are sitting out in different areas of headquarters that are I'm making it as easy as possible for our employees to bring it in and also to remember. Um, I went to the iowafoodbank.org. I guess yes, it's just foodbank Iowa, .org, and easily set up a little fundraiser there. And it was so seamless. And so you can do that very easily. I am not terribly IT savvy, so it did not take a lot of work. And then, yes, they can, if you want to join Landis in giving, you can certainly drop off your canned goods to our Landis location down here at headquarters, which is 220 Southwest 9th Street in Des Moines. I'll be happy to take any and all the donations. So will all of our locations. And then also, you can give right there at the Food Bank Iowa.org website. And like I said, they can feed one person all day for $2.
Foodbankiowa.org. And you mentioned canned goods. Is that primarily what they're looking for at the moment?
Yes, like you said, they mentioned shampoo, toilet paper. We're talking about the very basics here that will help a family through this wonderful holiday season where we want everyone to feel full, whether that is, which is usually, their bellies and their spirits as well.
Jill Myers is an office manager at Landis, joining us on Farm Here Daily, talking about the importance and need for supporting folks and supporting the community, engaging in the community during this time of Thanksgiving. Jill, thank you so much for your time today on Farm Here Daily.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
This is Farm Here Daily, a field forward podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Again, in order to continue to produce this type of local content, we would love to have you join our community, so please follow the podcast as well as our social media channels at Field Forward Pod. You can also find me on social media at Geiger Reports. Again, I am your host, David Geiger, and I'll be back again on Friday. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving.